'Cause we're all in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain our sound, GRCB needs you. All in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain our sound, GRCB needs you. Sustain our sound, make it loud. Help us keep up the fight. GRCB, alright. Help us keep up the fight.
Hi, I'm Jen. This is George, and today I'm going to give you a quick introduction to guitar lesson where we are going to learn the anatomy of the guitar, our string names and numbers, how to tune, how to plug into an amplifier, how to hold a pick, how to read a chord chart, and we're going to learn our first 3 open chords on the guitar. So let's jump right in. Basic guitar anatomy starts out very similar to our own anatomy. If we were to hold our guitar upright, the very first thing we would see is the head. Attached to the head is the neck. Attached to the neck is the body. Beyond those 3 pieces, we have some more smaller details to be looking at that we want to know the terminology, so when we're looking up extra information online, we're understanding what those resources are referencing. These 6 metal pieces on the top of the head or headstock are called tuning pegs. They increase or decrease the tension on your strings that can increase or decrease the pitch of the note. So we'll get into that a little more with tuning. Where the head and neck meet, I have a white piece of plastic, and that is called the nut. Some guitars may be a piece of brass, it could be another color piece of plastic, or if it's an older guitar, it could actually be bone. And that is holding the strings in place so they're not kind of going all over the place when they go up to the tuners. On top of the neck, if George was a little bit lighter, it'd be easier to see. There is another piece of wood resting on that neck, and it's slightly darker on George. On other guitars, if it's lighter or painted on the back, you'll see that there's a dark wood piece on top. That's called the fretboard. On top of the fretboard, going down below the nut, are these metal pieces, and those are called frets. That's how we know where to put our fingers. And these white dots, George has white circles, some guitars have rectangles or triangles or stars or birds, but at the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th frets, we have circle dots. At 12, we actually have 2 dots. These are called fret markers, and they are a way for us to quickly reference with a visual cue what fret number we are on. So if we're trying to play a D chord, that's not quite right. Oh, because I was on the wrong fret. I was able to see that by looking at the neck, because there are additional dots to reference where I am when I'm playing. Because when you're playing guitar, you don't want to angle your guitar back. You want to be sitting forward in your chair. You want the guitar facing outwards. And if you need to glance over to see what you're doing, you're glancing and just looking at the top. Because if you lean back, you get used to having your guitar in this position, and when you go to stand up to play, it's almost like relearning your instrument. So head, neck, and all of the pieces are taken care of. When we get into the body, we have our pick guard, which is protecting the guitar body from getting scratched up by the pick. Not all guitars have this, and that's okay. But the most important pieces of your electric guitar, if you're playing acoustic, you won't necessarily have these, are these 2 pieces. These are pickups. Pickups are small magnets. You can see those circles that are on a oval and then are wound in copper wire. And so that magnetic component is actually taking the sound of the strings when they're played and converting it into an electric signal that is coming through your amplifier. So I have my neck pickup and I have my bridge pickup. Some guitars will just have 1 pickup, could be in the middle. Some guitars may have 3, so it'll have a neck, a bridge, and a mid pickup. So as you can guess, this is the bridge of the guitar. Below the bridge pickup is a toggle switch called a pickup selector. So that helps me choose between using just the neck pickup, the neck and the bridge at the same time, or just the bridge pickup. If you only have 1 pickup, you're not necessarily going to have a toggle switch. If you have 3 pickups, you may have 5 different selection options, sometimes even 6. Explore that, see how the different sounds come through your amp. You may find that you are liking using the neck pickup particularly. You may like using the bridge. You may like using both. It's all going to be preferential or based on the song that you're playing. Next to that toggle switch is one of 2 knobs. The first knob is a volume knob, and that does exactly what you think it would do. It increases or decreases the volume of your guitar, and that way you don't have to go all the way over to your amp to change how loud you're playing. Next to the volume knob is a tone knob. Turning it one way can make it sound warm and bright. Turning it the other way can make it sound a bit darker. It again is going to be personal preference. Play with the tone knob in conjunction with your pickup selector and see what sort of sounds you can make and what sounds you like. Additionally, another very important part is down at the bottom of the body of my guitar, some guitars may have it on the front, is the input jack. So this is where your instrument cable that connects to your amplifier is going to go in. Following that input jack up, I have another metal piece sticking out of the bottom of my guitar, and that is a strap peg. And as you can see, it is holding the strap of my guitar on, so it's nice and secure. Continuing to follow the shape of the body, I've got another strap peg up at the front or top of the body. Some guitars may have it at the back, and some may not have a second peg at all, and that's okay. You could take a shoelace, put it through the strap, and bring it up above the nut but under those strings and tie it securely. That way it's not affecting the sound of the strings when they're played, but it's holding your guitar securely in place. Now that we know all of the pieces of our guitar, all of the components that go into it, we are going to plug our guitar into our amplifier. As you can see, I have one end of the instrument cable already in the amp. It's going into the input. Some amps may have channel 1 or channel 2. You can use either of those. Again, it'll be preference based on the settings of your amplifier. For time's sake for today, put it in channel 1. That way you're going to be working on your channel 1 volume. I have my amplifier off. I have the volume turned all the way down so we don't have any accidental blowouts when we plug in. I'm taking the other end of my instrument cable, which is also referred to as a 1/4" cable, bringing it underneath my guitar strap and around to that input jack on my guitar. And we're going to listen for that click. It means that the cable is all the way into the input jack. There's no worry about it falling out or that it's only halfway in. If it's only halfway in, you may not get signal. We're moving over to our amps, and if you were using an amp that only has one toggle switch, you're flipping that toggle switch up, and we know that it's on because the light is on. If you have a tube amp, you may have an on-off as well as a standby. You're leaving one toggle on standby, turning your amp to on, and waiting about 30 seconds before switching it off of standby. You'll get used to your gear the more you use it. I'm going to quickly show you how to hold a pick so we could practice strumming and plucking our strings before we turn the volume on our amps up. So this is a pick, a plectrum sometimes, and to me it's this alien shape piece of plastic. They can be made out of a variety of materials: leather, wood, metal, bone, whatever. So the part that is touching the strings, if you're looking at it, this is almost like an alien. That's the chin, and if you're looking at the top, this is where the eyes and forehead would be. That's where your finger's actually going to be. So you're gonna make a hook with your index finger and take your pick and place it at the edge of that hook, and take your thumb and put it right on top. I'm not squeezing too tightly. I don't want to see this turning pink or white. We're just going to hold it comfortably. Just a little bit of the tip of that pick is going to come through, and we're able to pick the strings, which we are not hearing our sound amplified because we didn't turn the volume on our guitar amps up. So we're going to turn it up to about 1 and keep going until you've got a comfortable volume. Now that we are plugged into our amp, we're getting sound through, and we know how to hold our pick properly. We're going to learn the numbers of the strings, as well as, if you're in standard tuning, the notes that are attached to those strings, and we're going to learn how to tune. For today's tuning purposes, I'm going to be using a clip-on tuner. It clips onto the headstock of our guitar, and it should be snug above the nut but below the first tuning peg, and you can angle the screen so you're able to see the note that is ringing out. You may have access to a pedal tuner, which is awesome, particularly if you're using an electric guitar. That would mean turning your amp off, unplugging this, and plugging that into the pedal. It operates the same way, where you want it right in the middle for an in-tune note. If it's to the right, it's going to be really sharp or high in pitch, and you want to bring that pitch in. And if it's all the way to the left, it's going to be flat or low in pitch, and you want to start working your way back to the middle. So we're turning our tuners on, making sure that they are set to 440, which is a standard tuning frequency, and we are going to learn the numbers of the strings as well as the first mnemonic. When we tune, we're starting from the lowest string, so the fattest string, which is string number 6, and it's also E, or low E. My low E is a little sharp, so I'm going to turn that tuning peg clockwise towards my face to get it to the proper pitch. Many of our tuners will go red if they're out of tune, and when they're in tune, it'll go to green. So kind of stop, you're out of tune, or go, you're good. So my E is good. A is next, my A is good. D, that's in tune for me as well. Oh, skipped one. So 6, 5, 4, which is D. 3 is G, which I was a little sharp. Then 2 is B, and 1 is high E. So our 1 and our 6 are both E. So one way to remember that is with a mnemonic. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 can be Eddie, 8, dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. If you're not so fond of Eddie eating dynamite, you can work from string 1 up to string 6. So every beginning guitarist does awesome eventually. I also invite you to come up with your own mnemonic. It's just an easy way for you to go through and be like, I am on Eddie 8 dynamite. All right, I am on my D string and I'm able to tune. So it's just a way for you to kind of get up to speed and remember each of the notes. We're going to learn how to read a chord chart, which will be helpful to you to go online and find other songs that you gravitate towards, and you'll know by knowing how to read a chord chart, how to form additional chords. This is an example of a blank chord chart. As you see at the top, we have E, A, D, G, B, E, so 6 through 1, which we can take that chord chart and put it on the neck or fretboard of our guitar and see that we're going 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So these lines going down are our string lines. We have the dark line, which symbolizes the nut of the guitar. In some instances, it may be a thinner line that has a number next to it. That is signifying what fret number you are starting on. So particularly with power chords, which we'll get to at a later lesson, you may see like 5. So this is starting at the 5th fret, and then it wants you to put your fingers where it's notated on the chart. So we have our string names, our strings, our nut, and then the different fret lines going down. What does a chord look like on a chord chart? This is an E major chord. We have a finger on the 1st fret of the G string. We have a finger on the 2nd fret, oh, wrong side. We have a finger on the 2nd fret of the A string as well as the 2nd fret of the D string. Not all chord charts have dots. Some may have a number. And when I was first learning how to play guitar, I preferred seeing the number because it told me what finger was going where. Our first finger, 1, is our index finger. Our 2nd finger, 2, is our middle finger. Our 3rd finger, our ring finger, and our 4th finger is our pinky. The thumb gets no number because when you're playing, you want to give yourself a thumbs up because you're doing such a great job and put that thumb pointing straight up to the sky on the back of the neck. One thing you notice with the numbers as well as the dots is they are not actually on the metal part of the fret. You want to put your finger in between the 2 frets. Let's get our E chord in place. So point your finger, finger 1 on the 1st fret of the G, middle finger, finger 2 on the 2nd fret of the A, 3rd finger, ring finger on the 2nd fret of the D. And we're going to pluck each string individually. So pluck them together with me. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now strum. Excellent. If your chord sounded a little more like 6, 5, 4, ooh, got a dead note in there, try making sure that your thumb is pointing up the back of the neck and try playing with just the pads of your fingers. You can kind of see I've got maybe some lines happening there from the strings. You want to play with that space just beyond the nail. I have my nails trimmed down to make it a little easier. The way I see it is if Dolly Parton can play with those long nails, so can you. So it's just going to take a little bit of practice, time, and effort to get used to how to hold your fingers over those strings. Let's practice playing our E chord for 8 counts, removing our fingers for 8 counts, and putting our fingers back on the E chord for 8 counts. We'll go through this 2 times. Grab your pick if you are using a pick, and let's get started. So 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready. Off, off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to E. E. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And off, off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I invite you to pause at this point and practice forming that E chord and removing your fingers for the E chord and see how it feels going from E to off, and test out different distances for your fingers. I find if I pull my fingers too far off, it gets a little trickier to make sure my fingers are going exactly where I want them to be. So I try to keep my fingers as close to the fretboard as I can without touching the strings. The next chord we're learning is the D chord. And what you may notice with the D chord is that we have these X's and O's over the strings or the string letters. And those X's symbolize that you are not playing those strings. So when you strum, you're strumming strings 4 through 1, so D, G, B, and E, and the low E and A aren't getting played. We have our first finger, our index finger, on the 2nd fret of the G, our second finger, our middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the high E, and our ring finger, our 3rd finger, on the 3rd fret of the B string. Play each string of the D chord one at a time, making sure our thumb is pointing straight up to the sky. We've got that nice triangle shape. Starting on the 4th string, so 4, 3, 2, 1, all at the same time. Again, if a string is getting muted, check to make sure that you are just using the pad of your finger. Give yourself a thumbs up. We want to kind of see like an okay sort of thing happening. We want those fingers to make kind of that arc, just using the pad. Let's practice playing that D chord again for 8 counts, so 2 measures of 4 and then off for 2. And we'll go through that cycle 2 times as well. So 5, 6, 7, 8, D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ready, off, off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, back to D, D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and off, off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's put that D chord in with our E chord and practice transitioning between E and D. Remember to keep your fingers as close to the strings without touching for faster transitions. Starting on our E major chord, 5, 6, 7, 8. E, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. E, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As you notice, I went from playing quarter notes to whole notes. So I was strumming 4 times, so 1/4 of the measure. And then I strummed 1 time, which was 4 notes the entire measure. If you are struggling to transition from your E to your D, you can only strum the 1 time, and that gives you several counts to get your fingers into the next chord. The 3rd chord we're learning today, the last chord for this lesson, is an A chord. The low E is the only string that is not getting played. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 are all getting played. So this one is a tricky one for beginning players because all of the notes that are played are stacked on top of each other on the same fret. So we are taking our index finger and putting it on the 2nd fret of the D string. Our middle finger is going on the 2nd fret of the G, and our ring finger is going on the 2nd fret of the B string. It may be hard to get all of those fingers kind of stacked, so you can kind of stagger them or tier them and have this kind of diagonal line that's happening where the first finger is a little bit closer to that 1st fret and the 3rd finger is a little closer to the 3rd fret and the middle finger's right in the middle. Let's go from string 5 down to 1 and pluck together. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is our A chord. If you have any dead notes, check for your finger placement. Make sure you're giving yourself a thumbs up. Let's practice that A chord for 8 counts and remove our fingers for 8 counts. So 5, 6, 7, 8. A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. Off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to A. A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. Let's bring that A chord into the mix, and you will practice going from D to A and A to D. So 8 on D, 8 on A, and then back to D. So we'll go through the D and A 2 times. Starting on D, 5, 6, 7, 8. D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to D, D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You may pause here and practice transitioning between your chords, getting your movement of your fingers a little smoother. When you come back, we are going to move on to playing our first song together, which is Born This Way by Lady Gaga. And guess what? It just uses those 3 chords we learned for the entire song. The chord pattern is going to go 4 counts of E, 4 counts of D, 4 counts of A, and 4 counts of E. Then back to our E chord. So it'll go, maybe I'll go this way. E, D, A, E. E, D, A, E. Over and over again. So there are going to be times where you're playing 8 counts of E, and that sometimes is hard for a beginner to remember to stay on that note because you're so ready to transition to the next chord. Bear with me. Practice is going to make perfect, and the more you play and the more you practice your chord transitions going slowly, the smoother your songs are going to sound. I invite you to play around with your strum patterns. You can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So in that we had strumming on just the 1, strumming on the whole note, the quarter notes rather. So the 1, 2, 3, 4. Strumming 8th notes just using a downstroke. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... or doing a strum pattern, which was down, down, up, down, up. So depending on where you are in your guitar playing adventure will depend on how comfortable you are with your strum patterns, but these are all options that are available to you. We're starting on that E major chord using a strum pattern that is comfortable for you.
Mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in the glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause you are perfect, babe. So hold your head, girl, and you'll go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way. Make no mistake, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret, just love yourself and you're set. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way, born this way. Ooh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way, baby. I was born this way. There ain't no other way, baby. I was born
that's it. So that was the first verse and first chorus, which just repeats throughout the entire song. What you may be feeling if you're familiar with the song is that the chords aren't necessarily matching up in the way that sounds familiar to you, or if you're planning to use your guitar as a tool for singing and songwriting, you may find that the open chords that we just learned aren't quite in your range. A tool that can be useful to you as a singer-songwriter, or if you are trying to sing and play with the songs, is something called a capo. Mine is a shark. It's mouth open so it can swallow the neck of the guitar and basically is moving the nut up. So I'm putting my capo on the 3rd fret. It's going in the middle of those 2 metal frets, right over that dot inlay. We're still playing the same chords the exact same way we would as if the capo wasn't there, but we're pretending this is the nut and this is our new 1st fret. So forming that E chord, we're going to go through the song one more time with it capoed and see how it feels different and can be a useful tool for your own creativity or for other songs in the future. So
Mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in the glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause you are perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way. You made no mistakes, I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret, just love yourself and you're set. I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born this way. Born this way, oh, there ain't no other way. Baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way. Baby, I was born this way. Right track, baby, I was born this way.
an important thing to think of if you are using a capo, when you take it off for your next song or move it elsewhere on the neck, you may need to tune your guitar again. As you may see guitar players on stage when they're performing, in between songs, you'll not hear because they're using a pedal tuner, but they're going to quickly go through and just go through and tune each of the strings if they've gone out, especially if you've been really rocking out. That is it for our time today. The next lesson we're going to learn a couple more open chords. So an F chord, a G chord. We're actually going to learn an A minor and a C chord, and that will round out our open chords and get us introduced to minor chords. So if you've enjoyed your time today, please click the like button on the GRCB page and subscribe for future instrument instruction lessons. See you next time. Lizzie's providing the mutes. Sometimes you can get this with your palm. Other times you can get it with a cat. So Lizzie's about to win. I think this is about it. As you can see, there's another one back here. So that's a wrap for me. See you next time.
Because we're all in this